Last episode, we talked about value, pay attention and spend time. If they value your content, they will give you their time and attention. A lot of times, businesses will focus so much on price. People will pay attention to price. But remember that grunt test. What do you do? How does it make my life better? What do I need to do to get it? The price conversation, or what they have to give up to get, is third. They're first being very, very smart. What do you do? How does it make my life better? Then and only then will they start to negotiate with you with price. But businesses like to focus on price because it's easy to change. You look at other businesses, really, really successful organizations like Amazon, Netflix, or Apple. They really, really focus on the other side of the equation, not the price angle. They focus on the value side of it. So I wanted to talk about value and how you can share perceived value. A lot of times organizations really do have a lot of built-in value, but they fail to recognize it themselves, what they're actually bringing to people. And if they don't recognize it, they're not going to communicate it. And I don't want you to fall into that trap. So here's what I do with clients is I share with them this B2C value pyramid. It's a great representation of what people are looking for in a product or a service. And make no mistake about it, as a podcaster, you are creating a product. And people are looking at it as such. Remember, we already talked about that transaction that has to take place. You want attention and time. The audience has to give, they have to pay, they have to spend, right? Pay and spend time and attention. So this is where it comes in. Now, most likely you had to take a psychology course to get into to school, no matter what kind of healthcare provider you are. If you took Psych 101, I am almost guaranteed the fact that you took at least a look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is called the B2C, business to consumer, value pyramid. It mimics Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Remember Maslow? At the bottom, things were functional, like food, clothing, shelter, warmth, right? And then only when you achieve those could you move up to higher levels until eventually you reach something called like self-transcendence. But you can't be worried about changing yourself and who you are and how to change the world if you're still worried about if you're going to be able to sleep tonight safely, if you're going to eat your next meal. This B2C value pyramid mimics Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So let's take a look inside this interactive value pyramid. So you see at the bottom, functional things. Does your product or service do any of these things? Does it connect or inform? Well, it informs, providing reliable and trusted information about a topic. I don't know about you guys, but that feels a little bit like a podcast to me. Does it reduce effort? Getting things done with less effort. That is very, very functional. Let's say you had a podcast that distilled research into 15-minute, easy to listen to, simple to understand episodes. Well, that sounds like, yeah, on a ride to work, I might get a research article, the information, the value from a research article, just by listening to you. Does it save time? Saving time in tasks or transactions. Is your podcast, is your product or service going to check every single one of these boxes? Probably not. But the more it does check, and the more you communicate to your audience that it's checking, the more valuable your audience will perceive you and your product or service. I told you before, it's important to pay attention to what content actually does. The two things content can really only do, right? Educate and entertain. And of course, there's that bonus one I love to say. If you do both at the exact same time, look at this B2C value pyramid. Can you inform? That is functional. That is at the very, very bottom of this pyramid. You need to be doing some of these things before you can move up. So does it inform? Absolutely. A podcast can absolutely inform. And then look up here at emotional. After you've passed functional, you come to emotional. Is it fun and entertainment? Offering fun or entertainment value? Absolutely. And if you could do both at the exact same time, you've got a chance for creating content that has a high value. This is why people go back to shows or podcasts or blogs or events, live events. This is why people come back to specific ones and ignore others again and again. This is why some content has a higher value than others. It's how many elements in this pyramid does your product or service provide? But don't stop there. Don't stop there. Remember the grunt test. Make sure to communicate the different things that your show will be able to do. inform, and entertain. Don't stop there. Tell me how. What will I be able to become? Tell me how I'm going to achieve self-transcendence and self-actualization. Tell me if I follow your journey on your podcast, I will be able to become what I want to become. What will you guide me to? So feel free to take a look at this. It's from Bain & Company. You can Google B2C value pyramid. I use this all the time with clients, and they are often shocked how many things, how many elements of this pyramid that they actually do every single day with their product and services. And then I'll ask them, show me in your communications, show me in your micro content, because their product is their pillar content. We talked about that. Show me in your micro content how you are making that clear. And a lot of times they say, people just know. They don't. If you don't tell them, they don't know. It needs to be so clear they can grunt the answer. If you don't tell them and repeatedly tell them, they don't know. And if you're doing it and not telling them, ooh, that hurts. You created something of value and you fumbled on the one. You just didn't tell them about it. When you think you've communicated the elements of value in your product or service, if you think you've communicated the elements of value in your podcast enough, you're halfway there. Over communicate the value of what you are bringing. Do not stop. If you're tired of it, your audience is just getting warmed up. Say it 100 different ways, but say the same things. Here is how I am bringing value. This is what you will achieve. Stop talking about how good you are or how many certifications you have. That's a you statement. Talk about me. What do you do? How will you make my life better? And then what do I need to do to get it? Just go through that grunt test. It starts with a you thing. The audience says, what do you do? They're kind of like at arm's length. What do you do? Camera came to focus. There we go. What do you do? Okay, I'll come a little closer. Now, how might that make my life better? Answer that with a statement that shows value for something they want to achieve, and they'll come even closer. Okay, now we're negotiating. What do I need to do to get it? And your answer is take a listen to my episode, subscribe to my podcast, follow me online. Very simple. What do you want them to do? How do they get it? But to understand how does it make my life better, you better have some of these values in your product or service, and then you still need to communicate it. When you think you're at the point where it's coming out of their ears, you're halfway there. Do it 100 different ways. Don't say the same thing over and over again. That micro content should always change, but the elements of value, what you're providing, those will remain the same. So go through this B2C, business to consumer value pyramid, and ask them in your show. Now that you're starting to create your episodes, remember, we're going to do 3. Ask people, what'd you get out of that? And then go back to this and see what elements are there. When you start to communicate to other people why they should spend time and pay attention to your podcast, you better be communicating value. Because the fact that you have a podcast is not valuable. Anybody can create a podcast now. The barrier to entry is nothing. So why am I going to listen? Why is your potential audience going to listen? You need to communicate the elements of value clearly and repeatedly until the audience knows it so well that they can grunt the answer.